Good afternoon. This is FIDE Senior Trainer and International Master Chess Coach Sekhar Sahu welcomes you on behalf of Sports Authority of Gujarat and Gujarat State Chess Session to this intermediate training session. So I want to discuss some endgame positions, actually a little bit advanced level, but it will help anyway to all players. Now this position, there are very limited pawns. That means if black manages to exchange the white color bishop, it's a draw. But it is not easy. However, black can play and save the game now. I will flip the board. How should black play now? How should black play? I give you time because these are not puzzles and these are not basic positions. So you take your time and find out how black can play correctly. To save the game. I want some participation, then only I will discuss. What should you do as black? We know it says bishop d4, but I told you the other way that black's target is to exchange the white color bishop. Bishop d4 you can hold on, then he has got a better move. The point is I want that this bishop's out from the board, etc. And you can give a threat. Bishop d4 is controlling a7 check, that's all. For example, now instead of bishop d4, you can come here, giving a threat. Giving a threat. So, he has to move the bishop. Now, when I give a threat, now he will pin, but then I solve what I want. This is a draw. Now 3 pawn winning, but bishop and exchange exchange down, 2 pawn etc. Or 1 pawn etc. There is no more win. That means at this point when you come over here, he has to play this move. But now you can just play king. And thereafter you can give check or bishop f5 and keep settling. It is not easy. So the correct move was of course this itself is not a draw, this is giving lot of resistance. Because if you place here, immediate draw. This is a drawn position. There is no entry because the king is controlling this square and the bishop is controlling this and this. There is no entry. The king can come maximum to this, that's all, no more progress. No progress. However, in the actual game, black played a mechanical move. Instead of playing good move bishop d7, he gave a check. Now, we can see, yeah, the king can come till f6, but no more progress. Once the bishop exchange, it's a draw. Once the white bishops are exchanged, it is a draw. For example, now here I told you that this is a draw. Now after the move bd7, he can come. There is no win possible here. This is a draw. Even if you come king e6, no progress. Imagine your king on e6, he will just play waiting the bishop with the long diagonal. There is no progress will come. Suppose you bring the king, he will play bishop to c3, bishop to b2, and there is no progress. Draw. It's a draw. Because king at g7, there is no entry. So this should be a draw. But in the actual game, he played bad move. He gave this check. And now look here, this mistake. Gradually, you cannot come here. After this, you will be paralyzed. Just at zugzwang. After this, it is just zugzwang. Nothing is moving. All this is statue. And then gradually he will make penetration. So what he will do here? King. Now king. If you keep giving check, there is no danger. Then king to e5 I will come. Not this king to e5. There is no check. There is a threat. Bishop takes h5. Now you see how Grandmaster Vaganian systematically improves and penetrates with his king. White now improves the game systematically and the king penetrates right into the territory of black. Now bishop. The idea threat is a rook check. Control you cannot give the pawn. Be patient. Now king f8 is bad, rook check. You are forced to come to king e8. And it will win the game. Slowly. The threat is you have no time now. Okay. This should be winning slowly. That is why he played king h8. Okay, what else you will do? You go to king to h6, bishop g8 or bishop e6. So, king h8. And now the king penetrates slowly. You have to go. King is coming. You must move the king. And now king enters. You can see the bishop is now in a very poor place. Now the king is paralyzed. The bishop is controlling, and rook is controlling this. The king is paralyzed. That means if I can reach the king here, this point it is lost. Okay, making the king g7, king e8, discover check. And then I penetrate. This is winning. So, only move here, king to bishop. And now we have achieved winning position. This is winning now. The bishop will run out. There is no check, and now this is some threat is coming. The bishops are not having much maneuvering room. You cannot come. Now the bishop cannot come. The bishop is running out of square. He can't come here. He cannot come here. Rather forced. Bishop f5 loses to simply bishop. The bishop runs out square. For example, he cannot exchange the bishop. Cannot come because of threat. Cannot come. The only move here. And now zugzwang. He will run into zugzwang. The bishop runs out of square. No No, because of this or this. Zugzwang. So this is the important thing. The king has penetrated, and now after this is lost. No, that once bishop is exchanged, now king into his king e6 is draw. See, once you exchange, this position is a draw. This is not a win for white. Even if king goes e6, no win. No win. So this is okay. I will show another example maybe tomorrow. A similar situation, rook versus bishop. How it is happening. Okay. Next. Okay, this position is from World Championship, and both are great players, both are good, but the position is inferior for white because white has 3 pawn island. White has 3 pawn island and white pieces are passive. So black to play and find the plan. I will flip the board. Now black to play. How should black play? No, not ND6, not ND6. Binoy? Okay, I give you a broad hint to you. Now, for example, now the knight is watching the square, pawn, and the rook is active. This is passive, this is passive. So, make the rook more bad. For example, now instead of playing ND6, let us attack the pawn. There is only way that rook must come to the 8th rank. You know, this rook should come to the 8th rank. Then that is the only winning plan. That means you need to come here and then enter. But if you go directly, there is no problem. He will able to hang on. So first make the rook passive. Exclamation. You cannot play rook d3. You cannot play rook d3. Then rook b4 zugzwang. It is a zugzwang. After rook d3, it will be running into zugzwang now. Now the king will come. So this is very passive. Very passive position. Now not rook d3, not rook b4, but I enter. That is why he played in the game rook b4, and you cannot play rook b2. Now rook b2 is bad because of rook b4 winning material. Cannot return. So his only move is rook to d3. But then I enter. So now the rook penetrates to 7th rank or 8th rank. 8th rank. This is the whole point. If the rook was here, then it is not easy. He will keep on waiting. So now the rook is very poorly placed and the rook enters. Well, this is a bad move, but it is difficult to advise any good move. The position is already bad, passive. So he tries to exchange pawns and creates more weaknesses. Now there is a threat, the threat of knight check. And winning. There is nothing better. The rook is tied down. What is the simple threat? Forced. And now winning the pawn. Okay, it is difficult to now save the position anymore. Suppose you come knight, and this is he is pushed back to the 8th rank, and rook is complete clear 7th rank. And here king e2 is lost immediately because of the fork, knight fork. But whatever you do, it is bad. Suppose you play king e1, this is also not working. Double attack. And slowly the knight ending will win. It is winning. But it is more tough compared to the game, but it will slowly win. So the great Capablanca, he had a fine feeling for endgame. So excellent move. I will give you one more example of the great Capablanca. Okay, this is, in those days theory was not so well developed. Nowadays players avoid such moves because pawn into pawn, queen b3, the bishop is forced to come back. So they were not playing in those days. Now it was better to play pawn into pawn first. It was better pawn into pawn and then queen b3. Then bishop has to only move, but play directly. So giving chance. Okay. So how should black play now? I ask you the position, it is black is good. How should black play? See, Capablanca, he was great player, a prodigy, a great chess talent, became world champion in 1921. But he had a great understanding of different type of positions, middle game and end game. The opening is not was his forte, but he had a great understanding of position. What should black do now? I give you time. Think and tell me, how should black play? Quite hot today, warm. Okay. How should you black play? Okay. Great understanding of Capablanca, NC6, and now amazing move. Now he makes an amazing move. This is NC6 is normal. NC6 is normal, preventing knight e5. And now after NC6, bishop, and he made an amazing move. Normal player will try to play e6 and then double up the bishop and castle. After e6, bishop d6, it is normal. But that bishop is doing nothing. After e6, there is no move, no good move. I mean, the bishop is subject to attack. He may play h3 and knight h5. So, a great move, bishop to d7. The bishop will do a good job on the queen side. There is no target for the bishop. Normally a player will play e6 only here. If you give to a lesser experienced player, or a blitz game, they will play quickly e6. But like Capablanca, like Alekhine retreated against Marshall, Alekhine Marshall game, a well-placed queen, he comes from e7 to d8. Similarly, here Capablanca makes a retreat, bishop at d7. What a amazing move. A great understanding. Now there is nothing better. Now rooks are connected. This is the point. Now if the bishop was at f5, you cannot play b5. Now his plan is to plant a knight here. No counterplay, no e4 break. See, this is all possible, b5 all possible, because he had forcing this position. And minus plus. Now, eventually this break will come. Eventually this break will come. Preparing slowly. No, this is desperation. This is desperation, but another bad move. This is, at least he should have opened the position for some activity. Now trying to plant the knight like this and this, but even though the position already good for black, already good, but this was the best resistance, but he makes another bad move. Bad move. Now it appears that he will concentrate on this only break and he will try to hold on, but it is lost position. Because not only this break, there is another pawn break at this point and both point. So he will operate on this file and operate on two files on the queen side. He will operate on this files and also G file. Black is not in a position to cope up with the pawn break on both sides. Threatening the pawn move, b4. Only move. Now you can see the job is done on queen side. Return to the G file. He wants to open and seize the G file. King into is a blunders, only move. Return to the G file. S3 will be weak. S3, this square, G3 square weak. He will just retreat and then double the rook. The point now, bishop is overloaded. Now the bishop is entering. The bishop is entering into finish, because bishop check, there is no answer, unfortunately. Check, and now another pawn break. Not pawn break, pawn threat. Too slow. Now the point is, now the bishop is pinned, you can't play this easily. But eliminate that and finish. This is finish. Exchange down, it is winning. Exchange down. It's all one-sided story now. It will lead to mating attack. Some check, king to maybe f7 and it is all over. Or h7, it's all over. So you see, all this is possible because he could play bd7. In the beginning, at the point here, what an amazing move. Great Capablanca. Where is this move? bd7. Bishop d7. A well-placed double-up piece is coming back and closing. The bishop is useful, like Alekhine did with Marshall. You know, Alekhine Marshall game, I can show you that. Okay, I will come back to later. So first let me show you the selected positions. I will tell you, I played once with IM Raja Ravi Sekhar. He was 2 or 3 times national champion and he was dominating the Indian chess circle for quite long time. And he was very good in endgame. So one tournament I played with him, I was 2 pawn up and played carelessly. Not experienced in endgame. And even though 2 pawn up I drew, the same position comes here. So let us see this game. Okay, I will flip the board. Now black is a pawn down, but amazing resources. Now the point is, this is the pass pawn, but the rook is poorly placed. He cannot free the rook. The rook is active, the rook is passive. The extra pawn will not win. What is the resources? When the pawn comes to this point, your king should be here. Your king should come to this point. He cannot win. Because when the pawn comes here, he will have a threat of check. But when the king is at b7 or a7, there is no check will come. No check will come. So you have to wait. Now this check, and okay, even this king here, it doesn't matter. This is also draw. Just wait till he comes. When he comes here, you will keep harassing like check, 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 harass him and return to b8. So you will keep giving checks. Check. Now this is a good move. Of course, there is also you have a good move like king to a7, but why give of some chance? Forced. Now the pawns are but I will tell you, white will win the game if his pawn anywhere, somewhere in the file, anywhere in this file, anywhere here, he will win the game, or here he will win the game. But these pawns are no good. No good. Wait. Check. Wait. Okay. No progress. When you come to this point, the rook should keep on giving checks and return. Now there is no winning. These pawns are having nothing to do. Now you can take it, draw. But even without tactics also, this is a draw. No win. There is no win. Just wait here. No winning plan. But when there is move, you just play tactics. He played this check, it's a draw, even though it is no other winning plan. Okay. Alright. So let me take you some more resourceful games. However, if there was a pawn on, suppose remove the pawn. Now let us say imagine the pawn is here. Without the help of king you win. Imagine your king is somewhere here and the pawn is here. Just you keep pushing the pawn. Another good game by Sekhar. Now this is a typical move that he wants to get a stone wall set up. This is called the Cole attack. F4. Okay, knight to knight was also bad, F4. And white has a ready-made plan. I mean, the rook is ready to come here and then attack. The queen is ready in the line. So white has got, he cannot take the knight. Okay. There is pressure. Now he is just putting pressure on the point. Bishop and queen is there. Eventually, slowly he will come. Idea, some pawn into and then pressure. So he comes g6. I think, Beliavsky was a very talented grandmaster, but he was very young at that time. So he made some mistakes in the opening. The Cole is absolutely no danger. Cole's system is absolutely harmless today, nowadays. Now g6. Now you open the game. Now both bishops are ready. Both bishops are ready in the line. So you need to get this pawn break. Now pawn into pawn, rook into is good, very good. After pawn takes, rook takes f5 and double the rook. So, and knight h5 is also bad. Knight h5, knight d7, all are bad moves. Imagine knight h5. Now the bishop is ready. The bishop is ready. So pawn into and mate threat. Like Geller's Maslov game. Pawn into. No time to take. Is a checkmate. Is a checkmate. So here h into g, he can play rook into. A total destruction. Now knight rook into is losing. Knight into is also losing. What you call, check. And now I get a check. Now here comes here. And now check. He comes here. You cannot come. This is mating. Checkmate. It will lead to checkmate quickly. So he has to play rook f5. And now winning the game. Rook g7 is threatened. Rook, now rook coming here. Always this kind of mate. And this kind of check. And this also. So many threats. He can prepare to play g4. Hopeless position. Idea mate. Hopeless. The threat is now rook check. The threat is rook check. This is the threat. Rook check and mate. Difficult to defend. So here knight coming to h5 is losing. So here he penetrates. Knight coming to h5 losing. Only move. This move. And now there are too many threats. Idea bishop sack. Good move. And winning the end game. The point is, you need not try to force a mating attack. The position superior bishop. Now the bishop is superior. This is a weak point. This is a bad bishop. And this is holes. So white has better pieces and better pawn structure. Victory in the end game. Okay, what else you will do? Rook goes passively, does not help also. Forced. Now you can see this is also very poor place. Two bad pieces into this target and rook active. This position is terrible. He cannot play bishop a6. Rook pinning. The exchange of rooks will be more worse for black. Exchange of rooks is much worse for black. Not rook a6. That's a blunder. You have to play, king is exposed. Pawn attacked and winning. Saresky wrote some nice 2 books. It is about endgame, not about basic endgames, but a lot of about planning in endgame. Okay. So this is very well played by the master. Next. All right. Now this is not about end game, but this is very interesting position. It is black to play. Black played bishop b7. The pawn is attacked. Actually, it can come from queen's gambit declined, some variation also. Now the pawn is under attack. Okay, rook was here. After the rook c7, he can place pawn push, which is bad. He plays the more active. Now you have to take, otherwise next move rook is coming. The point is, queen into pawn, this rook is unprotected. Rook can come and take it. You will ignore the queen. The pieces are underdeveloped. The king is not very safe. So instead of playing c5 move, instead of playing c5, he plays the active move. Now queen into pawn is not correct. Now at least white should play bd3, and then he will try to play knight f3, knight e2 castle. A reasonable game. Black is out of problem. Next rook c8 will come. A normal game. where black is not having any problem. But normally players will not give up. The greed, the reason for losing many games, the greed. Rook queen into pawn, a bad move. Now queen into bishop loses, rook into rook winning, queen into queen. His expectation, now rook into everything is okay, because rook into rook, the king d2 is coming, rook attacked and the queen. But after here, rook into rook, he did not worry about the queen, rook into bishop. Suddenly the pieces are paralyzed, the king is coming under attack. Because after bishop is coming, white is attacking with 3 pieces. White is attacking with 3 pieces to the lone king. The queen is under attack directly. At the moment, queen under attack. Check. 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 And now check. The king is forced to go. You cannot come to a4. King a4, rook check will lead to definite mate. Definite mate. So he cannot go to king a4. So he goes to king, even king b4, the works out same thing. Same thing. So you cannot go. The only move is king to a2. But then bishop a6. There is no time to take the knight. Nothing. The idea is bishop check, rook c2 check. Now if you do bishop check, pawn b3, bishop check, king b2, rook c2 mate. So the only move trying to escape, check and finish. Pawn checkmate. He has to come only square, but checkmate. So the whole point is, it was found somewhere, I don't know, that Queen's Gambit declined also, it comes in some positions. Now expect developing coolly. White was expecting a pawn c5, then some weaknesses are there and white is better after c5. But amazing move. Now bishop d3 and development was on priority. But greed, and now he lost. Okay, I go to the next one. Next example. This is white to play and grab the initiative. From a well-known semi-Slav position, from a well-known semi-Slav opening. White to play and grab the initiative. The point is, now you have to attack and then knight enters with a great initiative. Now suppose you play knight to d5 and he will play knight to e4, and white advantage is decisive because watching lot of squares, and next move bishop g5. It is terrific position. Terrific position. So black cannot play nd5, he has to push the knight. Before he will move, the knight moves, then he want to come nd5. But then pawn into, and now the king position is weak. Now there are a lot of weak pawns. This is a weak point. The king is weak, and also these squares are weak. So white has created a lot of weaknesses in black camp. Even the open file, the squares, all this will give lot of trouble. But let us see how white exploits this. Well, in my opinion, when the position is bad and a player is defending, he should not create more weaknesses. He should try to exchange pieces and the key pieces and try to play as solid as possible. Now opening the game will backfire. It will boomerang. There is now he cannot come out. Further bad move, opening the line for white only. Now simple queen. Of course, he can also now exchange the queen and get little better. But I want to come here, catch the king, but I need a tempo. I don't want to exchange queen. Queen. And now the position is terrific. See, if you count the material factor, for example, queen first two rooks, queen into rook, and then bishop into another. So you get two rooks for queen, but there is a mating net. Okay, if you do not take the queen, next move rook is coming. The next move he will threaten the rook, and it is all over. All over. So he took it and sudden death, queen check, pawn check. And checkmate. This is a checkmate, like Alekhine style. Checkmate. Of course, he can avoid this. He can avoid by hanging on to the point here like this. But in this case, the rook will come, and other rook will come, and then next rook will come. It is winning slowly. Zugzwang. Nothing he can do. The main problem is many times a player ignores castle. They try, in the Semislav, he has captured and opened the game. All this thing, it has come from Semislav only. Next. Okay, I want to show you even some simple opening. The game collapses in opening if you are not careful about some tactical shots. Okay, now normal move, a player should play c4, and c3, then g3, bg to castle, or e3, be to castle. Normal moves, but bad. Okay, this itself does not lose the game.
ऐसा कुछ थ्योरी नहीं पढ़ा?
नहीं
कुछ चीज लाई और
नहीं, कुछ नहीं, खाली थैला है।
खाली थैला।
हाँ, ये ट्रांसफर देखिए,
ट्रांसफर नहीं चाहिए। क्लास चल रहा है? अच्छा, मैं देख लेती हूँ।
Okay, so here see, the whole point is players, there are some players, they are stubborn, they don't want to do normal fundamental development, castle. So this is, he is attacking the bishop. Now the point is, white should not do this bad move. What he should have done here, for example, suppose when he plays this, what white should do? Push. Now you come here. You can ignore this. Now queen into pawn, you can ignore. White is ready to castle and a good game. It's a simple way. Also, you can play bishop into knight and bd3 castle. Simple bd3. A simple ready to castle, good position. But the player playing, no, not this. He plays bad moves. Bishop to f4. Now he plays all mechanical moves and now it is lost. Very strange, this position is lost for white. Now only move and one piece is gone. Now you are forced to because the threat is coming here. If you move the bishop, the g4 will come, the knight moves, the piece is lost. So, any question? Any question? Okay, and now black won the game. Of course, this was white was a much weaker player in a simultaneous. All right, I will show some more examples like this. A sudden collapse. These are not good moves. Bringing queen early. Now it is bad. Now, suppose you play now simple knight into knight. Now, a modern player will play knight into knight and then knight coming to quickly. A tempo. Very simple way equalizing, but bad move. Of course, it is based on a tactical operation that he can give a check and take the pawn. But this is not justification to open the position. Pawn into. Now you can see castle. The point is, now he cannot take the knight. Queen into is losing, rook pinning and winning, and knight into losing, a queen check is coming. Unexpected shot. Unexpected shot. It is take mate into check. Here it is a mate, and here also it is a mate. So this sort of moves, it used to be played in 100 years back. Nowadays players, even ordinary players, don't do such mistakes. The playing e5, etc. This itself is not the best move. You just can take it and bring the knight and get easy equality. Okay, I saw some more positions from the old masters games. David Bronstein. No. Okay, all right. Now bishop is not good because in this case he will play rook and coming double and try to open up this point. So you are leaving the bishop controlling this. So he plays here he plays queen f1, then he will take and then double the rook. Black is better, but in the game he played a bad move. Suddenly the pressure is coming. It is a difficult, the purpose of showing this game, that defense is a very difficult task. Already I would say black is busted. Now an exchange sack. And now another exchange sack. Okay, what else you will do? Now this bishop is watching. The bishop is watching the square. So he is preparing to hit. Second exchange sacrifice. You can see the terrific control this one. The bishop can reach this square any time. And the bishop is coming this side. The bishop is coming to this. And the king is completely in the open. What is the rook is doing? Nothing. So, two exchange sacrifices. Now returning, not interested. He is not interested in the exchange. This is over. The knight cannot move. If the knight moves, the bishop will enter, finishing the game. Now the knight is attacked double. 1, 2. Forced. Now check is of no use. A check is only spite check. Resign. Now the whole position, there is only one check, and after king h7 there is nothing. He is simply helpless. Now this is attack, and after that some check is coming, bishop check is coming, knight is entering. Collapse in the opening stage. These are not good moves, but I will tell you the mistakes by opponent. What you have got is a reverse center counter game. Reverse center counter. Scandinavian. Not good. The position, it is okay. Now what he should do? He should play bishop to b4. A simple rule. Next he will develop. The knight is in pin, and next he is ready to castle. Black position is better. Excellent position. But instead of playing, he opens a game. This is bad. Now he gives knight into and castle. The same thing what we saw in the game, Reti. The same kind of tactics. Queen into is not, knight into is not possible, and after queen into he gets unexpected rook check. Whether the king comes here, queen into queen is free, or king takes it, anyway queen into queen. So the same way, in the Reti game, last I just showed you today only, rook check is over. Knight cannot take it, pin. Now king is 7, check is free, and after this queen pick up. Some more positions, one more position of Bronstein. Typical errors. The science of winning chess is nothing. You follow strictly the opening fundamental principles. You develop castle and control the center. Do not do any pawn exchange. Do not do any pawn hunting. Do not unnecessarily make pawn moves. Minimum pawn moves, so good enough to develop the pieces. Now, the point is, I already told, I think I did yesterday I told, or day before, that this is bad, because after move, suppose I come, suppose I play pawn into d4. Then the knight is very poorly placed. Queen. And now if you play, where the knight is going, this is a redundant knight. Redundant knight. You can see the game. LeBron versus Larson, New York 1986. So he can't do. And now he plays knight. Now e5 is bad. Bishop g4, be2, e5 is bad. It is bad. Because he will simply pawn into, knight into pawn, picking up a pawn. Even you try to develop. Now if you play knight here, I castle. Even now e5 is a blunder. Take, and knight into pawn, winning. No. This is not winning. The knight is supporting. Alright, this is a different position. Now let me tell you, this position, this is bad. Bad move, e5. How should black play now? Hello, Captain Levy. How are you? How should white play now? Please find out. The position advantage for white. The typical blow. Hello, Kamakshi Vastu, good afternoon. The point is, white can play the unexpected pawn push. Pawn push. After pawn takes pawn, this is bad, because he can play bishop here. And now the knight is ready to come to g5. Now the knight is ready to come. The knight is ready to come. Thereafter he has problems. And lot of weaknesses. And if you play bishop takes pawn, also white better. Knight to d4. The point is, for the pawn sacrifice, I will destroy the castle position. I will have bishop pair, a superior structure and a superior king. Knight into. Not only watching the square, I am threatening to enter like this and bishop. Seizing that square. Only move. You can't play knight c5, only move. Now I can go knight, but just complete. Now next move bishop is coming. The position is it is totally black is outplayed completely. So a player should be vigilant. In Alekhine defense, this normally comes in Alekhine defense. Some variations of Alekhine defense it comes, like this kind of move. For example, I can show you e4, knight f6. Okay, let's say e5 and d5, and d4, knight b6. Now a4, a6, a5, and now maybe I will play here bishop b5, not allowing d6. Now I will play here. Now let me play not here be2, I'm sorry, be2. Now d6, knight f3. Now in d7 I can play this. The reason is here the rook is ready to come for operation, and knight is ready, the bishop is ready. So I have got fantastic position. The rook, bishop, knight, queen, these are all active. All are active. And this is the target, king is a target. So these are typical pawn sack. Now he can give this e6 move. He can give this e6. It comes in another game. For example, e4, c6. Caro-Kann. d4, d5. e5, bishop f5, h4. A modern treatment, aggressive move. Now h5 is the best move. Let us say h6. Now g4. Now in the olden days, the players used to go because they were worried about the pawn. No, they were worried that this break is coming. So they used to go back and watch that square. But this will lead to a passive position. But it is playable. White is better, of course. And if he goes bishop h6, h7, e6 is crushing. It is crushing because pawn in 2, now all you need to exchange the white square bishop. And thereafter, once this is exchanged, the queen will play havoc. The knight will come and the knight will come. A terrific position. This is devastating. Overwhelming advantage for white. However, let me tell you here, this is old move and this is too passive move. The correct move, bishop e4. And after this g3 square is weak and black will get counterplay on this. For example, let us imagine the same move, e6. Now black will get counterplay. The queen is coming. And this is not that dangerous. Not that. Now knight has to guard the square, knight comes, but then knight d7. And suddenly black has counterplay. Now black gets counter attack on the center. That is why an intermediary move. I guess I saw this. Who is that player who played be4? Maya Chibunidis. Maya Chibunidis played here be4, forcing this move, and then come back. All right. Just a minute. Now I want to show you some few games where in chess, throughout the game, right from opening till end game, alertness is required. Once I happened to meet a former world champion who's legendary. I asked him, what is most important in chess while playing? He told me it is alertness. You have to alert about direct threats, indirect threats. Direct threat is tactical operation. Indirect threat is positional operation. So you need to be observant about small changes in the position. You need to be alert if opponent offers you material. Why he is offering material? You need to analyze. And there may be a tactics possible on the board, and the same thing will not work with a small change. That is what I am going to show you from these few games. For example, let us say the game between Garry Kasparov and Viciana. This is from Dortmund 1992. Then Vizzy was very young and he was growing. Now, this is Alekhine variation. The more reliable, e4 is Galler attack, it is equal nowadays. Now this is Alekhine. Bishop takes. All this is known, one of the main lines. Queen e2. Now there is counterplay. On pawn to e4, bishop to g6 with counterplay. So the queen moves away from the line of rook, knight into, queen into, and e. The threat is to play e4. Now the point is, if black is not reacting immediately, then white will take a big initiative. The pawn on e4, pawn center, then bishop e3, it is crushing position. So black need to liquidate some minor pieces to get the relief. So the correct move. Now e4 is no problem. E4 he can play bishop, and on pawn into, there is pawn into, this bishop is under attack, the queen is under attack. So black will wriggle out. This is the resource. This is the resource when you play e4 forking both, he will wriggle out with this. And pawn into knight is no problem because the rook is against the queen and he will now take it pawn into and then take it. Now let us say in this position when he played knight d5, he played knight attacking the bishop. Bishop goes back. Now still the tactics is no problem. This is no problem for black. So white tried, e4 gets nothing. So white played, instead of that he plays now queen e1. Now he is threatening to play some b4 with some kind of space advantage. So this is a bad move. Now white, you see here the tactics is working. Pawn into knight fails to pawn into. But there is a small change in the position. The same tactics does not work. So Anand lost here the vigilance, the alertness, and played carelessly. And now this is lost because the bishop is retreating. A small change in the position. I will show you one more game on this. One more game on the similar theme. One more game. This is white is former world women champion Maya Chibunidis, who was world champion for 17 years, and black is Holi. A standard main line. Okay, so white stands slightly better. Now the point is, this is a blunder. You know, this is a blunder, tactical blunder. You take, then check, and then queen come, and picking up a pawn. And also this is also bad to play knight f6. After knight f6, the point is here the knight is watching the center. Now after you come back, he will come, and now bishop d3, queen d3, and the center is controlled. He can even play queen a2, rook d1. White is much better. White is much better. He can play queen e2. Now here, suppose you, now next move, the plan is to play queen e2, rook d1, then bishop d2, bc3. Terrific position. And e5 is a blunder, as I told you. So take, and he plays h6. Now this prepares to make the break e5. So comes here. The idea now e5 will not go because now the new threats have started coming. Now pawn into pawn, queen takes pawn, and black plays bishop c5. Now you need to stop restriction of opponent minor piece, very important, because this point is vulnerable. So correct move, b3. So white has connected the rooks, and Apparently white pieces are better because they are in a good position operating on the diagonal. So white queen and knight active. He is controlling the center. White stands definitely having a positional advantage. Better center and more correctly placed active pieces. But black finds a way to fight. Now I want to exchange mate threat. Now threatening the mate here and threatening the bishop. Mate. So he is expected to go back, but this is very passive position. Now if you go back, the position remains passive, rook a d1. So black finds an active move. Idea, now mate threat is gone, and if you take, he will take the bishop. No problem. And now if you come here, now the point is black cannot take it. He cannot take it, but black will have queen f4. There is no problem. Now you can see the tactics. The black tactics, you can't play queen into bishop. You don't have anything after queen exchange, and queen d2 there is nothing. So what white did is trying to improve the piece position. White tried to play rook a d1. So my rooks are in center. Queen into queen will get a small advantage. But he played now rook. The idea, like Anand Kasparov match, that same tactics. He says queen into pawn, bishop I have got queen into. Or queen d2 I have the resource. But now he forgets that this is doubly attacked. So queen d2 winning. Because you can't play queen. You can't play. The piece is lost. And you can't play queen into. The queen is lost. Earlier there was only one piece. Now there are two pieces. So queen f4 does not work. Little bit of alertness. So he plays bishop, but it is lost. Only move. Now after this piece is lost. 1 and 2. It's all over. So black failed to notice the change in the position. Rook. The same resource does not work. The same resource does not work. I will show you two more games. Okay, I showed you already this. Alertness. In the PCA World Championship, Anand started very well in the match. There was consecutive 8 draws. First 8 games were drawn. And Anand took the lead in 9th game by beating Kasparov. So in the match, after 9 games, Anand was the leader. So it was a big sensation, and it was actually terrific encouragement for the Indian chess fraternity. But Kasparov, he had planned, because after about 9-10 games, Anand was gradually, succumbing to the physical tiredness. I mean, he was getting exhausted mentally and physically. Then Kasparov unleashed his preparation and rattled Anand. All this is very well known to theory. We can see all this from Karpov, Sosonko, and then Lubuzovic, Miles, and so many players. And now, knight. So all this was played earlier in a game of Zavo. This is not old. It was Sutin and Zavo. They played it in 1967. Very old game. The game is equal. However, there is some interesting tactical operation is there. Rook into c2 is harmless. Knight into. In my opinion, there is no advantage for black now. He has only some good active pieces, but there is nothing. Okay, I think this is an interesting, strange move, provoking a weakness. And now, simply king b2, the game should be equal. Attack. Now, white could have taken, simply it is equal. After knight into pawn, there is rook will come. The idea, now rook is against this unprotected, and if you play, it appears he is winning, bishop into. But there is an intermediary move. You don't have to take it, you can play pawn push first. Drive the rook, and then rook into. Once the rook moves, then you play rook into bishop. The rook into. Sorry, I will play rook into, and it is equal. Very simple. Hello Solanki, hello Surinder, hello Olga, Gorolova, how are you? So here, this is simply equal. Knight into pawn was equal. Knight into pawn was simply equal. But not such a good move. Unnecessary. Now also, c3 was equal. Now, if you take bishop takes knight, now rook into and pawn into rook. And this pawn is anyway lost. Should be equal. Absolutely equal position. But note the blunder. I think Anand must have been very tired and lost the alertness. Knight. A blunder. Unexpectedly, the position now loses for white. Because now rook takes pawn. Now this is, you have to attack. Otherwise you lose the pawn for nothing. If you go away somewhere, he will just move the rook and nothing. So you attack. But rook into pawn. Now, if you take rook into, you will get a check and a discover check. Forcing king and a discover check. Winning the game. Now superior minor piece and also a pass pawn and active rook. Unexpectedly. A dramatic change in the match. From a +1, Anand gradually went down 2-3 games in succession. It was his physical exertion and also mental exertion. One more game, I would like to show you one more position. Similar situation. Losing alertness. Okay. Now, this is one of the old main lines. This is modern players play here h5, not allowing g4. Then they play bd7 and all. So this is also possibility, h5. So, and black's judgment that two bishops in compensation for the pawn. Now, so white is a pawn up and a solid pawn structure. White apparently has no pawn weakness, one extra pawn. So exchanging the pawn en pass is bad. So white is a pawn up and also the rook in the open line, but his c4 move was unnecessary. So creating more weaknesses in the camp. I will tell you now, even though white is a pawn up, there is no apparent plan. There is no entry. So he just waits. Now the bishop is doing nothing. So bishop will do a good job here in this diagonal. So returning. No pawn break. There is no pawn break. How do you evaluate the position? Okay, I will make some further moves. Now after the move, white played bishop 2 and he just entered. He doesn't want the rook bishop to come. The idea is to improve the bishop. He stops and now rook stops. So he brings bishop here so that the bishop cannot move. Now the bishop is active. Sorry, the bishop is active. This is active. The rook is intending to come. So you cannot move. Now the king cannot move. Bishop cannot move. And if rook moves, then tempo is coming. So white want to improve the position. Now white's plan, maybe I can do come here and then come here, and idea knight coming here and then knight coming, like that, equal. But now he played knight. I want you to evaluate the position. I want you exact evaluation of the position now. Okay, I will flip the board. So last move he has played knight. I want you to evaluate. White white is a pawn up. So Solanki says black is little better, because black pieces are active. So what are the judgment of other players? What do you think of the position? The last move was knight here, preparing the knight to come. What else? The knight wants to come to f3 and g5. So he comes. What do you do? So Kamakshi says black is better. Yes, black is not better. Black is winning. Black is not better. Black is having a force win. Amazing. A force win. Bishop e4. Now you cannot defend, because the bishop is already having an eye. You can't play rook. I will exchange here and winning the piece. One piece gone. So you cannot defend the piece. And if you take it, if you take bishop into, now suddenly it is a mating net. A strange mating net is coming. Rook check. You cannot go here. And after the move, now rook check. And after the move, bishop. It's all over. It's all over. Now the simple mate threat, killing him. Resign. So, okay, I would say that he has made a mistake. The alertness, simply he lost the alertness. He lost the alertness. Of course, if you don't play this, there are some waiting moves you can do. You can do. This is not that all over. You can play here, you can play rook here, but counter play is there. But simply lost after the force move. One game on queen and pawn, I mean sacrifice of queen, I will show you today. Let me show. Yeah. This is a very solid line white is playing. Other line is knight f3, rook b1. That is also very active. This is good. Bishop g4, f3 is there. Kasparov match or Karpov-Timan. Rook c1. Indirectly protecting. So the counter attack. Now the point is, if you play this move is passive. then I can take it and maintain the center. So he decided to give exchange sack. The idea is now counterplay. Black gets the exchange back. Okay, evaluate the position. Evaluate the position now. The resulting position now, white played fantastic. Terrific pass pawn and active queen. Supporting the bishop. Now the point is here white offers the queen. The point is a player should be vigilant. For example, you can give the queen a check and take rook and bishop and two pass pawns. In the first glance, it doesn't look convincing because it is very likely one of the pawn will fall. The bishop is unprotected, the pawn is unprotected. So very likely one pawn will fall. But the king is safe and he coordinates perfectly. Take. Now look at the consolidation. Now the rook is behind the pawn. He is simply threatening to push. So you have to block and king can easily support the bishop. Now regrouping. Next plan, rook wants to come. Next plan, I want to come and attack so that the pawn will keep moving. Cut off. You need to clear your back rank. Now, not allowing the pawn. There is no rush. There is no rush. Back rank is cleared. Now, white plan is simple. He will bring a rook here and then attack and the pawn will start moving. Forced, check. And now the queen sacrifice is convincing. Forced. Now the bishop can be easily guarded by the king. King is safe and the pawn is moving and it is all over. Nothing. Excellently, systematically, Grandmaster Weiser converted the technical plus. Design, because next move, all white wants to just come to the open file. He wants to come to the open file, that's all. Winning the game. And of course, no doubt that black did not give his best. I mean, black could have improved. More stronger resistance was possible, but this is a possible queen sack. Alright, I give you one more position about queen sack. I think I sold this game. Maybe I sold this game. I'm not sure. Okay. Now the position, the whole point is white has played passively. I mean his rook and bishop, rook is not in the game. So this is not a good idea. Unexpected move. Now after he takes queen into. Now if knight is g5 trying to do some activity on king side, he cut queen into rook and nothing. Simply winning the game. Black's pieces are too active. Black is clearly on top. Okay. 3 pieces for queen. He has got 3 pieces for queen. So this is not working. Ng5 does not work. So after queen into bishop, he played knight in. And this is winning. Now he has 2 pieces for queen, but very active pieces. No, rather 3 pieces for queen. Very active pieces. No, two pieces, two pieces. Forced. So what I mean to say, we can do a queen sack taking advantage opponents underdeveloped pieces, uncoordinated pieces, and he won the game. He managed to win the game. Of course, it is a time factor, also tension that also mounts. Okay. I think I will discuss these 3-4 games in the next class, the Queen Sacrifice. So, thank you very much, friends. I will be back at 6 p.m. for the next session, practical training games, and see you at 6 p.m. today. Bye. Bye, everybody.